Michael Morales Torres, integrante del equipo de Lucha Libre Online, y tengo el enorme privilegio de presentarles a nuestro invitado en la tarde de hoy, el hombre que derrotó a AJ Styles no una vez, dos veces, sino tres veces, el dios de la lucha libre, James Ellsworth. We're so excited to have you, man. How are you doing today?
Gracias. I'm doing very well. Thank you very much. How you guys doing?
Everything's great here in Puerto Rico, man, and we are so thrilled to have you as our guest because you were the man who beat AJ Styles not once, not twice, three times while he was the face of the WWE. He was the WWE champion, man. How did that feel for you?
Man, growing up being a wrestling fan my whole life and being just such a fan of WWE my whole life, being in the ring with not only the greatest wrestler in the world, but the WWE champion. It meant everything to me, man. All the hard work and sacrifices and wrestling and American Legions and bingo halls and Boys and Girls Clubs and all that stuff. It all led to that, and it was just such an amazing feeling each and every time I wrestled AJ Styles.
Man, you started your career a few years ago. You've been 18 years active in this industry since 2002. You were contacted first by WWE in 2014, where you made a few cameos with Adam Rose with the Rosebuds. And after that, in 2016, you made your debut against Braun Strowman in your singles match at Raw. My question for you is basically two of them. Who was the person who contacted you for this opportunity, and how did it feel to make your debut on Monday Night Raw as an independent wrestler?
Well, when you are an extra talent or an indie wrestler and you get an opportunity to be on Raw or SmackDown, you don't get those opportunities very often, but it's not too hard to get those opportunities because if they come to your local area and you're a local wrestler, you can sign up for that. And they, contact you and say, hey, be here at a certain time. So when I wrestled Strowman, I wasn't signed or anything. I was just a local guy that they wanted Strowman to dismantle real quick. And getting that opportunity, I just, they let me cut a promo, and I said the line, any man with two hands has a fighting chance. And I got beat up and sold it real well. And Vince McMahon just noticed it. It was all Vince McMahon. He noticed it, and he just hired me a couple of weeks later, and I was off to the races.
And that was an amazing experience. You had a run with WWE for a while. Many people credited Chris Jericho for being a person that exposed you on Chris Jericho a little bit more to the audience. Was he the person responsible for pushing your contract backstage, or was somebody else interested? Because you mentioned Vince McMahon, and many people hadn't heard that before, but you were a hot commodity with WWE for a while. Every stadium that had you, it doesn't matter the role you were playing, you were such a hot commodity with the audience. Everyone was so thrilled to see you in Italy, in South America, basically everywhere you were. People were thrilled to see you, but the Chris Jericho got to play an important role in your signing with WWE.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like I said, Vince McMahon saw something in me right away, but Chris really pushed for me. He got me on Talk Jericho. He told me a few times that he called the writers, and Dave Kapoor, a great writer there, and said, man, you guys ought to hire this guy. He's got something. And at the end of the day, it was Vince's call, but Jericho definitely helped me a bunch, and I'm still friends with Chris to this day. Every now and then I'll text him, and I owe him a lot. He really pushed for me and helped me, and I'm just so grateful for him. Absolutely.
You were there for a while. How was the backstage dynamic in WWE? Because many people complain about the overproduced segments and this batch of wrestlers that were released basically on April this year. I had the opportunity to speak a few of them, EC3, for example, the Colognes. They said that the backstage segments were a little bit overproduced, but they did love the backstage ambience. What was your experience backstage in WWE with the guys, with the producers, and with Vince McMahon himself?
Well, people have to understand, and I think I do, that it's live TV, and you can't go out there and curse or say something that you're going to regret. So it has to be produced to an extent, because it's a live television show. You can't mess up. And So I get why it's produced and treated as such. There's time cues, there's time limits, there's, on the segments. So I get that. I mean, I've like, it's as a performer, you want to be your own artist and you want to do your own thing. Like any man with two hands has a fighting chance was my line, and that's the line that got me popular. It's always felt like, man, I got here because of my line, but I understood why it's produced so hard. It's a PG television show that you have, for SmackDown, it's 2 hours. You have 2 hours to get over the stories you want to get over. And as far as WWE as a whole, though, I was so grateful for it, man. I don't understand why anybody ever complains about it, man. You travel the world on their dime. They make toys of you. You're in video games. I was in a Snickers commercial with Ric Flair. Like, I never forget, man, when I was a kid, I dreamed of all this. And they gave it to me. I mean, no job's perfect. You're always going to have good days and bad days in any job. But they changed my life, man. Like, I've, more financially stable than I've ever been. Like I said, I got to see the world, toys made of me. I'm grateful, man. And anytime I see guys, ragging on WWE a little bit, I'm like, man, do you realize, like, they at the end of the day, it's a really cool job, you know?
It is. What was your? I mean, this was your lifelong dream. You achieved it. But what was the biggest thing you experienced while being on WWE? What was this highlight of your career during that run?
Well, I had a couple of them. I mean, the top two, 1A and 1B's, being a part of WrestleMania and wrestling for the WWE title, in the main event of SmackDown. Like, WrestleMania, dude, like, the whole day of WrestleMania, I would get to the stadium at, like, 11 a.m., Campeón World Stadium there in Orlando, and it just didn't feel like WrestleMania. It was real hot outside. We didn't really have the greatest of locker rooms. It was a big tent, and, I'm like, man, this doesn't feel like WrestleMania. But then, like, just I hate to be cliche, but walking through the curtain and seeing 75,000 people, and you hear them announce your name. Carmelo was in a match, and they said, being accompanied to ringside by James Ellsworth, and like you hear your name at WrestleMania, and you see all the people, and the people cheer when they hear your name. That was the goal to me. Like, my goal was to be on WrestleMania when I got into wrestling, and you get laughed at, told you're too small, told you're not good looking enough, told you're not athletic enough, and I always ignored all the negativity, still do. I don't let any negativity bother me. I just don't. You only live once, man. You can't work, waste your valuable and precious time worrying on negativity. So I always put that aside. And man, like when I was walking that ramp at WrestleMania, I was like, man, this is it. This is what I did. And then when I wrestled AJ for the WWE title, just standing in the ring across from the greatest wrestler in the world, in my humble opinion, and watching the referee raise the WWE world title, and having the crowd chant your name, ain't that the dream of any kid? Like, you're in the world title match, the crowd's chanting your name, and you're fighting the best wrestler in the world, like in the main event on TV. Those are my two moments, WrestleMania and that, for sure.
That's the dream, man. Every wrestler basically that should be his goal or her goal, being on the main event against the maximum champion, and you achieve that. But the wrestling industry is going through some rough times at this moment. Uh, Viewership is going every time lower at this point. Not for WWE, for every single company. Many people are just stop watching wrestling, except for Mexico. Basically, the rest of the world is decreasing in viewership. What do you think the wrestling companies and the wrestlers need to do at this point to attract a bigger fan base? I mean, you are a veteran in this. You merchandise. You're marketable. You're basically everything a company should want at this point. But under your experience, what should they do?
In my humbled opinion, man, there's not too much you can do. I think it's overexposed. Like, as cool as social media can be and as helpful it can be, it also can be the devil and very hurtful. And wrestlers are just overexposing themselves on there. Like, you see good guys and bad guys talking to each other, heels and baby faces. Granted, I get everybody knows wrestling's a work, but we all know movies are a work. And you don't see, like, for instance, The Walking Dead, you don't see Rick on Twitter talking about, and me and Negan tore it up in that segment tonight, brother. Like we had the highest rated segment. And this like, I think it really started with Tough Enough. They just showed a lot of the secrets, and it's so overexposed. Then everybody's in everybody's business on social media. Like, this person's a piece of crap. This person did this. This person did that. And meanwhile, none of us really know because we weren't present at the time they're talking about. And I think it's really hurt the business. Like, kayfabe is so dead. It's been dead for years, but now it's dead, and people are peeing on the grave of it. It's just, and man, like, if people would just not do that, I think that would help. But and the Attitude Era it's just so hard to follow. They did so much cool content in the Attitude Era, and like just people bleeding and brawling panty matches and like just all kinds of crazy wackiness, guys giving their boss the finger. It's hard to follow all that. We haven't followed it for 20 years. The ratings have been slowly going down for 20 years to the point where now we're 2 million people or less. And I hope it changes for the sake of everybody. I love the wrestling business. I want everybody to succeed, because it starts at the top. I do independent wrestling now. If the top isn't doing good, independent wrestling suffers too because nobody's watching the main programming. I don't know what they can do, man. They're trying different things. I really hope it gets back to the promised land. But man, like Attitude Era, you had 6-7 million people watching. Now it's 2 million. Where did the 5 million people go? Where did they go? I don't know. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a rough road going forward.
It is. I'm going to say something in Spanish to all fans that are listening, even though this is going to have subtitles at this point. James Ellsworth está disponible para todos ustedes en cameo.com/James Ellsworth. Si quieren un saludo de cumpleaños, si quieren un saludo de graduación, un consejo o simplemente que insulte a su mamá o a la suegra, James Ellsworth es el hombre para hacerlo. Cameo.com/James Ellsworth. Al igual que esto, está disponible para todos los promotores del mundo, sea para virtual signings, sea para firma de autógrafos virtuales de igual manera, sea para meet and greet virtuales, sea para meet and greet personales, sea para sus carteleras en Panamá, en Chile, en Ecuador, en Perú, en Puerto Rico, donde quiera que sea. Este es el hombre que ustedes deben tener en su cartelera y pueden conseguirlo en bookellsworth@gmail.com, bookellsworth@gmail.com. Eso va a aparecer también al final de la transmisión. Y en adición, James Ellsworth tiene sus redes sociales. Pueden seguirlo en YouTube como James Ellsworth y en Instagram y Twitter como James Ellsworth Wrestling, en donde también está vendiendo su mercancía. Tiene botas autografiadas utilizadas por él, tiene el maletín de Money in the Bank femenino, que él fue el que lo ganó, tiene lonchera de Money in the Bank también femenino, autografiada también de igual forma, foto 8x10, lo que ustedes quieran, ese caballero lo tiene. Simplemente tienen que enviarle un mensaje directo a través de la cuenta de Instagram, James Ellsworth Wrestling, y ahí lo van a conseguir todo. Cameo.com/James Ellsworth. Bookings es en bookellsworth@gmail.com y pueden conseguir toda su mercancía en sus redes sociales. Solo envíenle un mensaje y este es el caballero que ustedes tienen que contactar. James, last but not least, we've seen you in multiple wrestling companies all around the world. WWE, one of them, Impact Wrestling in 2018. At this point, James Ellsworth is a free agent. Would you be interested in signing with a specific company, or have you been contacted by a company at this point?
I really just WWE is all I ever wanted in my life, as a career. So I still feel the same way, even though I've been there and I've accomplished it. That's my home, man. That's where the James Ellsworth character belongs. Like I can go to these other places. I went to Impact, had a lot of fun. I did some house shows for them and did their Bound for Glory pay-per-view, and I think they're doing a tremendous job here recently. If they call me, I'd definitely go and do stuff. But me, man, my whole life, I wanted to be a part of WWE. And now that I haven't been there in almost 2 years, I still just want to be a part of WWE. I miss it. And hopefully at some point, whether it's 5 months from now or 5 years from now, I'll return there. Until then, I'm going to keep grinding, keep hustling, keep getting better, keep doing my thing on the independents, and keep pushing myself and trying to better myself. Right now, I'm engaged, getting married next year. I got my 2 lovely daughters that live with me, and I'm focusing on being a better family man and being a better person. So hopefully in the future, something happens with WWE or possibly another company. But I think you had it wrong. It's Twitter @RealEllsworth, and then Instagram's James Ellsworth Wrestling. There you go.
Perfect. We corrected that. Lo importante es que a todos los fanáticos, cameo.com/James Ellsworth, bookellsworth@gmail.com, y sígalo en todas sus redes sociales, lo pueden conseguir para su mercancía y para todo. El dios de la lucha libre, pro wrestling god himself, James Ellsworth, because any man with two hands has a fighting chance. Mr. Ellsworth,
Right.
such an honor to have you as our guest. We wish you the best of lucks in your career and in your future, and we hope to see you back again in WWE. But I would love to personally see you in NXT in 205 Live. I think you'll kill it there. So we're praying for that to happen, man. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, I'll see you guys soon. Appreciate you, and I hope I come to Mexico soon. I'd love to come down there and do some shows.
Mexico, Puerto Rico, Hugos of Innovation is the man, and we really hope so. You are with us at a future event.
Absolutely. Take care, guys. God bless you.
Amen.
Yeah.